Hey everybody, I am Pops. Let's talk about Griselda, Netflix original series based on the real life Griselda Blanco. That's right, the Colombian drug lord, a contemporary of Pablo Escobar. And if you like that type of drug trade, true crime inspired dramatic series, like Narcos, for instance, this is probably a show that you're going to like. There's a lot of parallels to those type of shows and that kind of thing. I also think one of the positives about the show that I want to get right out of the way is it appears to really have been a passion project. The lead actress, Sofia Vergara, is also one of the key people of getting this happen. She's listed as a producer, and her performance as Grisella is really what the show rides on. She is front and center. Most of the big emotional highs and lows is going to center on her and this journey and how her saga is going to unravel with all these other different elements around it. If you like that, and again, it's a lot of Spanish because it's a lot of authenticity. These are actors and actresses that have some of them have roots in like Spanish soap opera and Colombian television and film and that kind of thing. So the authenticity element is there for sure, front and center of them trying to capture all of this. Where you have this Colombian drug lord. She basically is in the middle of this. Through the backstory, you end up why she's in a situation with her kids, racing to Miami. And then ultimately, it's going to set up her own cocaine ring here. She's actually nicknamed the Godmother. And all of that is rooted in real life stuff happened in the 80s here in Florida and Miami. And it kind of leads right into the Miami drug war stuff of that era. The show is very, very well put together as far as performances go, a lot of the editing and things like that. There are some episodes that have a lot of drag and some things like that because you're trying to there's not action. It's a lot of the tension that's building and building and building, things like that. It does get dark. It does get intense. It does get uh, where it needs to go to deliver on that type of story arc. So, but she is fantastic as Grisella. I think her performance is the best. So I will give you my general thoughts, highs and lows, and otherwise. So the biggest problem that I have with Griselda is not the show's fault, not the actress's fault, not the production. It's the fact that I have a hard time enjoying these type of series for the long haul because the main characters are not likable people. They weren't likable in real life, right? So the downfall of the drug trade and the criminal underground is the greed and the envy and the disrespect and all that. She has an out in the show where she could just walk away for millions of dollars, but can't set aside her ego to do it. No, no, no. It must be worth more. I'm worth more. It's a reflection of them, insecurity complex, all that kind of stuff. So it's hard to get past that type of stuff. And this happens, like, I know Narcos obviously, but like this is one of my biggest beefs with Yellowstone. There's this big pivotal moment where there's an out and it's like, well, that was a good reason to get out. Like that actually kind of makes sense. Uh, so it also walks the line in a lot of ways of having her behave like a man. Now, that actually was kind of like one of the quotes early in the episode. I think it's maybe the log line, maybe on episode 1, but the fact that this is a man's world. She's there. They call her a housewife. They disrespect her, that kind of thing. But they do a pretty good line of walking that back and having her still behave in very effeminate ways and things like that, even though it does come into play as a regular theme pretty regularly. She turns it on her head. It's about episode 4 where she reaches out to a different group that's also sort of like looked down upon so she can rally the support with them and basically exploit them for her own needs. But I liked all of that. I liked all that a lot. Now, as far as well, there was like a wasted actress. So, if you guys remember, I did a little conversation about Vanessa Florito. She was in Death Proof. She had a little role as the sister in Bookie, and she plays the friend. And then she's in it a lot early on as like the friend that takes her in, but then she just disappears. So I kind of mixed feelings about that because she actually is so good on screen and really steals every scene that she was in. Uh, a lot of supporting cast and the players are just sort of like there. Even Dario, who we're supposed to like because he ultimately becomes a husband, that's the love interest character. There's other characters that are like advisor character, things like that. It's all fine, but because it only centers around her. Uh, I will say that they do a really good job with set design and immersion into the world building. So I would think that this would be something. One of the biggest positives of this show is that like I actually laughed because there's a scene where she's driving and she's bringing gifts to her drug mule girls, basically the prostitutes, and they're Burdine bags. Now Burdine's has been out of business for years, but Burdine's was so big back in the 80s. I mean, there was a store right off the interstate in Tampa, and you could see this. It was this massive logo on the side of the building where the mall was. You could see it when you drove by. So that type of immersion, I think they did spot on. As far as the story goes and that kind of thing, I mean, first off, the actress is way more attractive and presentable and pretty than the original Griselda was. So just so you know, they took a lot of creative liberties with that part of it all. But the fact that this, I guess I have a hard time. And again, it's not really taken away from the show. It's like, they just can't get along with each other. It's like, no, everyone has to be the big cheese. Even when they have it all worked out, it was like, well, who's going to be in charge? And it's like, you just can't. They're criminals for a reason, I guess. The show is fine. I think that like I said, if you're into Narcos, you're into those type of shows, this would be a show for you. I think that it gives us all everything we would want out of a show like this. And yeah, so the creative minds that brought you Narcos. Yeah, this is them looking for something else they can do, and it's a strong female character kind of thing. This is one of the attacks. This is so there's also like this backstory with police officers and things like that, and they're always picking up the pieces like after the fact. So I don't really have much of an affinity for them. This is her with her kids. But you can see like with the clothes and stuff. I mean, they did a really good job on everything. Look how pretty she is. Like, so it's not like the original lady. So these are the mules, and this is the advisor. So she really does pick up like the ragtag team of people. So it's not like, and this is one of the villains that is definitely giving her, I want to cut her head off. Like, this is literally like one of the villains of the show. The other bosses has it in for her for sure. They just have really nice, stylish moments and things like that. This is Dario. This is the husband. He basically is her muscle, and things go sideways. It's one of the crime scenes because the police are always trying to pick things up. Now, the police stuff, I guess, to me, is probably some of the more tedious things because it's like her detective is like a sexist, makes a lot of remarks, but then of course she makes the bus. She's the key to everything. She figures everything out. That stuff was almost, I mean, I don't know what's real and what's not. I didn't fact check any of that kind of stuff. It felt the most contrived and out of place because it was just so forced that she's the girl hero boss, the police. And it didn't really offer much because there are whole episodes where it just kind of it pops up, but you can almost forget that it even happened. It's kind of strange. Yeah, they do ultimately go for it. Once you get into like episode 3 and 4, it starts to get. Here's that scene I was telling you about where she walks out. She's rallying them all to her help, and basically the godmother, to help her. Basically an army. This is her making her pitch to the other bosses, and they're kind of like they're down for it, but it's like it's a very sexist thing as well. But yeah, it's a very interesting show. I can see it's her beating some guy. Yeah, it's fun. So there's a lot of good moments. There's a lot of good moments. So if you checked it out or not, let me know. I would probably rate it kind of in the mid. I'm going to go like 3 out of 5 stars. It's 2.5 to 3 stars for me. I don't know how to watch it again, but I didn't really watch Narcos again. I went through it and saw what I saw and moved on. It's like I'm not a huge fan of some of that because of characters. And I think it's because when I lined it up to things like Godfather, I always felt like he had his moral code and that was his moral code. Like it made sense. Some of them don't have moral codes and it's just all over the map. And there's like the villain for the sake of villainy. There's no desire to get out, those kinds of things. But yeah, it's a biopic. It's very immersive, and Griselda is on Netflix. So if any of you have that and want to share what your thoughts are, I appreciate to hear from you. Take care, everybody. I am Pops.